Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to go through the steps that are most widely used to either make a patch cord or Ethernet extension cable, both in the male connector and the female connector. You can go 586A connections or 586B connections. The 586B are the most widely used. However, when you're making a patch cord, and that is an end with two male connectors, it's generally considered that either type A or type B will do the trick, as long as you make them both the exact same thing. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to go through the most basic tools right now. To start, we're going to need a wire stripper as well as a punch tool. So you can see if it'll focus, the top part here is the strip part, and this is the plunge punch tool. And we're going to show you that. This is for the female connector. Next up, we're going to need a crimper. These you can generally get at your electronics store. There are some higher name brands that will run you upwards of $50 into like the $200 that I've seen online. I got this one at my local electronics store for $14.99, and I've used it a couple of times already without fault, and it is nothing fancy. It's got a wire cutter and a wire crimper for RJ45, that's for Cat 5, Cat 6 Ethernet, and it's got a telephone male connector crimper. So 15 bucks, and that's not too bad at all. After which, we're going to need a wire tester to make sure that everything is okay. We have the Ethernet ports on either side. This is the transmitter, and this is the receiver. No, this is the transmitter, this is the receiver, and then it loops back. We'll see how that works. So it has for Ethernet cable and for BNC connection types. That's for your CCTVs or otherwise closed circuit televisions. But today we're going to focus on the RJ45 Ethernet cables. In female connector, we have the RJ45 port as well as the connection points on the back, on the inside. Now every connection point, it's difficult to see. There is color coding for your satisfaction. This particular one is a little bit more expensive. This one is from Leviton. You can buy generic RJ45 connectors, Cat 5, Cat 6, Cat 5e at your hardware store, or electronics store rather, for about $1 a pop. This is, if I'm not mistaken, a Cat 6 RJ45 male connector. This I bought a box of 10 for $2.99, so about 30 cents a pop. Not too expensive. The Cat 6, as I completely understand it, also have a little bracket. I don't know if you can see that on there. This is where the wires will be going into to keep them all in line and separated while we crimp. So, without further ado, let's get stripping. Okay, so we're going to start with the male-female side connector. So first up, we're going to want to take our stripping tool, and you can just follow along. I'm going to start off with the one side. It doesn't really matter. I like to leave about 2 inches of gap. Now I'm putting it on the widest one because all I want to do is just score the rubber jacket. I don't want to put too much pressure on it because I don't want to nick the cables on the inside. And with a little bit of twisting, pops right off. Always a good idea to examine your cables, but I know that I didn't even cut through this, so I wouldn't have cut through that. Next, we unravel. So once we got our cable unraveled, we're going to go ahead and follow our pattern. So on this one, going top to bottom, on the left hand side it's orange, orange stripe, blue. On the other side we have green stripe, green, brown, brown stripe. So once you got all 4 pairs or 8 cables in their respective spots, you want to make sure they don't come out or anything, and I like to keep them as tight as I can. Then we take our punch tool, and using the tip of that, it's got a little notch onto it. That's where you can It's just the way it's built. So you go ahead and you push it down. And that's pretty much it for that guy. These extra loose ends. I guess this is going to have to do for now. That's it. That's good enough. Alright, so now we got our female butt. We need to get our male butt going on. Alright, the male connector is a little bit more tricky than the female connector because we're going to be using such a small amount of wire after the fact. I cut them out longer so that I can just give them a little bit of pressure straightening out, because as they're twisted together, they're a little wonky and it kind of look like curly hair. Now, which freaking order do they go into? Because there's nothing written on these things on how to put them in. So there are guides online, and I'm going to post a guide right around here, in this area. And basically, we're going to be, because we went with B on this one, we're going to go with B here. So I have my guide in front of me. And it's going to be, if you can follow the bouncing ball, orange stripe, orange, then green stripe, and blue stripe, and then back to green, and brown stripe and brown. So we have orange stripe, orange, green stripe, blue stripe, green, brown stripe, brown. Sounds good? Now once they're plenty flat, I hold them down around here, take my cutting tool, and that's about it. And then we take our little bracket. Now the bracket has a flat side and the opposite side kind of curves up a little bit, and that curve up you want to keep always towards you, and you go ahead and slide those in there far back as you can go. Now mine here, I cut the my wires a little bit too long, so we're going to want to go ahead and trim those down again, right to the tip. That's it. Now that curved side on that holder, you're going to want to keep that up, and on here, on the connector point, that little tip that everybody knows and love, that's going to go down, and you're going to have your pins on the top side. And that curved side is going to slide right into there. I don't know if you can see this with the focus. And it's just going to slide right in there all the way to the back. Just like that. And we go ahead and take our crimping tool, and you can notice the distinction where the RJ45 has that little dip for that little guy. We're going to go ahead and slide him in there. Right until you hear it. You hear that? And you pop that up. And that's all she wrote. So now we can go ahead and test our cable. So I'm going to stick our male end in here in the remote, and our female, manufactured patch cord. Always handy to have when you have a tester. Plug that one in there. Looks good. So that's it. Give me a thumbs up, comment any questions, anything you want to see in the further videos, subscribe, share the video if you thought it was interesting, and don't forget to ring that little bell to get notified every time we pop out a new video. I am Marky the Sparky, and thanks for watching.